I think another element to this as well that helps draw people together and helps create those safe spaces of trust is the emphasis on justice and on really looking closely at relationships and the power dynamics in relationships, which I think goes to help people to feel, you know, I may be able to express something here I can't express in other places, because there is that commitment to really make sure that the analysis is along the lines of, okay, well, from a justice perspective, what does this look like? Conversely, those who feel that they may not want to say something because it's not quote-unquote politically correct, one of the things I've noticed when I've said and learned from your classes, Hans, is the way you facilitate is to create a safe space for those people as well. Right? So, and one of the things we try to emphasize, obviously, as we begin our classes with prayer or devotion or whatever it is, that we have to speak what the Spirit lays on our heart, because if we don't, and we don't trust each other in these safe spaces, we're not going to be able to work through these issues of power and justice and perspectives. And so whether it be a very conservative perspective or a very liberal perspective, we need to be able to work those through, because if we don't, we won't learn. And it's been really exciting to see that happen.
And that's great for the justice piece. You know, when you think of justice, if you define it out a little bit and you say, hey, justice is the advancement of the well-being of each other, of the other. And our students are so engaged in that already in their lives, even before they come to us. And one of the things I hear frequently is, wow, I didn't realize that there were a whole bunch of other people who felt and wanted to do this work on this level in this way. And so it's not just the material that they're reading or the input from faculty, it's the peer group that they form, recognizing that they're a bunch of, you know, as Lindy Backus would say, like-minded deviants, right? Who join them in this plight that they're engaged in the work of God in the world. So that's a huge piece of what happens with community.
To the point where I know, at least in the classes that I've had with students, we spend a significant amount of time talking about how can you talk about what you're learning with your friends or with your family back home, because sometimes what they're learning or their passions tend to be viewed as sometimes not legitimate for a Christian, or viewed as unorthodox, or you can put a lot of other labels in there. And it's important for them to be able to process that and to try to figure out, how can I come across Christ-like in my discussions, debates, or arguments with family members or with friends, and helping them to see certain things that I've learned and I don't come across as whatever it might be on either side.
Well, I like the space that I hope that we create in some of our programs, like the Nonprofit Masters and the Org Lead Masters. Here you have organizations that are committed to the concept of justice and changing the lives of the other. Do we bring that inside the organization? So when I'm teaching leadership, challenging them to think, are you a leader that someone would say is just? Because you've empowered the voice in your organization that's been overlooked or labeled different. You know, so how do we live justice within this great organization that goes out and does justice? And that's what's going to transform our organizations, and so that it's not just the business as usual, or justice is that thing we do out there, we don't live it here. So and I do think we drive that home in a lot of the content of our programs is, do you lead justly?
One of the things I most love seeing is as students come in, you know, we're all committed to sharing the gospel. It's got to be front and center in what we do. And the discussions we have among students who come in and they know this material, social outreach stuff is important, but they really want to share the gospel, and that's kind of their primary focus. And then we have others come in where the social, the material is really, you know, helping the poor, the justice is most important, but they're inspired by their faith, so their faith is incredibly important to them as well. And seeing, as we facilitate, as you well said, conversations about the importance of both and responding to God's call to do both, how both of these sometimes sides move towards this integration themselves where it hadn't been there before. So it's really a lot of fun to see that happen.
I've been thinking of Brueggemann's Shalom as he talks about leaders who live whole life. And the Jewish idea of my mind, body, soul, spirit, strength, and my neighbor is all this integrated life. And this Shalom is what we're after in SLD. It's an SLD Shalom, really, an integrated life that sees beyond just your competencies, but it also has this very self-reflective moment that you build character and build your leadership, your vulnerability, your authenticity, and all these things become a part of Brueggemann's idea of shalom.
You know, so you like Brueggemann and I like Wolterstorff, and find that Wolterstorff's idea of, hey, it's rightness of relationship with God, with self, with creation, and with others, and that fits so well with what we're trying to do here. Mm-hmm. It's the full scope of reaching someone, of caring about our world, and in the context of education and transformation and community, all great words. The most meaningful thing that's anchored in here is how well they love each other, how well they love God, how well they join in the plight of those who are unable to care for and do things for themselves. So they really come in wanting to work on behalf of the others. And that to me has been the highlight of working in SLD. And as you well know, I've been a few places in the university, but this place, for some reason, captures the ethos of what Eastern does in terms of how it reaches for justice, in terms of how you each represent in your own scholarship and in your own lives your commitment, your very commitment to caring about the students, about your discipline, and about this institution. And that's so evident that when I come to work with you, that's what I see. Mm-hmm. I see your commitment, your personal commitment to justice. So I never think, wow, we talk about justice, and our guys aren't doing justice. You guys are doing justice, so much so that you inspire me to do self-reflection and take that up a notch too. So the benefit is not just for the students, it's for you as colleagues as well. You live that call, and it keeps me faithful. So.
And for those watching at home, we did not pay her to say that. Honestly, we did not pay her. I'm thinking of it, but...
For group